going on, everybody? It is another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. I am back from the Senior Bowl. I am back from Mobile, Alabama. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about some draft. Thank you guys so much for hopping in. We didn't miss a week. We did not miss a week. We just ended up missing a little bit of another day, if you will. Instead of Wednesday, we're doing it on a Thursday. The Mainly Broncos Club is going up on a Thursday. At the 7:30 Mountain Time slot or 7:40-ish time slot. First things first, hit that subscribe button for the MHRT Network page. And there's also a join feature now, like we've been talking about. There's a join feature. There's three different levels. There's three different levels of it. I believe there's a $2.99, a $6.99, and then a $12.99. So make sure you tune into that. Feel free to subscribe however it is that you guys feel like. So enjoy it while you can. But first and foremost, thank you again for subscribing to the MHRT Network. There's also the Mainly Broncos YouTube channel that you guys can hit that subscribe for. That is where we do, I'd say, if we are the most famous for, that's where we do a bunch of our short form on there, as well as Instagram and TikTok. And a bunch of those places, of course. And as you can see, we go live on our Twitter handles over there at Brandon Miller PO, at Jordan T. Lopez, the MHRT Network Twitter handle, and of course myself at Cameron Parker PO. Feels good to be on the mic again. I was not on the mic yesterday for the 5280 podcast, but I know the boys held it down. Gentlemen, how are we feeling? Jordan, I don't know what he's searching for. Brandon, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I gotta.
Yeah. Well, that AFC Championship game existed. It happened, and that's about all I want to say about it. But other than that, I'm doing well. I'm excited to be able to get into talking about. I really want to hear more about your time at the Senior Bowl, but I really am just wanting to dive into, what is this offseason going to look like? Because even though it ended the way that it did, that season was a success in every way possible. So I'm doing well. I'm excited for what's going to be happening. I am obviously sad at the way the season ended, and Bo Nix MVP.
Well, next MVP.
Okay, so we'll dive a little. Like I said, we may dive into some draft prospects and or Senior Bowl, but I will say this before I kind of lead things off. When I mentioned what we do as far as like the Mainly Broncos podcast, I actually cannot tell you the amount of people who actually came up to me and said, and this is not Bronco fans, by the way, that actually came up to me and said, man, if Bo Nix was in that game, y'all are in the Super Bowl. The amount of non-Bronco fans that are actually smart enough and aware, trolling aside, to actually be like, okay, if Bo Nix was actually in that game, y'all probably are going to the Super Bowl, if not winning the Super Bowl, I think was one where it's like, okay, you all's respect kind of jumped up about 5 notches in my book. So Jordan,
it would have been a blowout. Go ahead, Jordan.
Well, I don't know about a blowout, but I mean, it would have been definitely a better.
Based on what I was seeing from the Patriots, it would have been a blowout.
But it definitely would have been a better game.
Yeah, I was searching for my copium because, I like if Bo Nix plays that game, and I hate to use the Justin Herbert word, but if he does play, I mean, we win that game. It just sucks that the way his season ended and the way the season had to end for that, but I think it just reinforces the fact, and I hate that we have to keep reinforcing it when it's just a common knowledge at this point. Bo is the guy, and we've seen him now when he's not with the offense and when he really needs to put his Superman cape on for this team. Even though there were real people, not AI, there were real people on the internet telling us that this offense may be better without Bo and that it's not a drop-off. So, yeah, we saw that come into fruition, but to just reiterate the fact of Brandon, I can't wait to dive into the off season and stuff like that. The season is what it is. I think it was still a success. It was just a huge bummer on how the way we went out, but it is what it is. And if we were 3 points away from going to the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback and with the roster that we have at hand, especially knowing that the offense needs to improve a lot, I think I like our chances for next year.
I kept my expectations low. Like I said he would be competent, and I don't think I was correct in that. So,
yeah, I was gonna say like we were.
There was a moment in that game. We all know what it is. You don't do that in high school.
Yeah,
like
that is correct,
bruh. You look like a player that has not played in 3 years. I love Jarrett. I'm not saying that I think he's a bad backup. I think he needs some more reps.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's another side. I was gonna say there's another side of this though. There's another side of this though where it's like there are some circumstances that you just cannot control, and that's the weather. It was undoubtedly a weather game that affected both teams. It affected the Patriots. It affected obviously the Broncos. There's just times, right? Like there's just times where you're going to end up having a weather game, and whether the other team's accustomed to it or if one team is accustomed to it or not, I don't know. It's just there's just games like that happens, right? And I think this is the thing that was just so surprising was I don't think anybody expected. I mean, relatively speaking, was it a blizzard? No, but I don't think anybody expected it to be a whiteout by the end of the game. I think everybody expected snow, specifically here locally. But I don't think anybody expected it to be a whiteout where we're shoveling to make sure that the lines are visible, right? Like I don't think any of us kind of pictured that. So like there's circumstances like that in a game where you're like, okay, that was kind of a bit of a surprise, right? And so then at that point, you're kind of looking at the game and you're like, you better get your points early, right? You better get your points early, which lends into certainly another conversation piece and a controversial piece, that happened, of course, with the fourth down call and then obviously the turnovers, the two biggest things, of note. But yeah, it's just it's one where it was a frustrating one. And frankly, I will say this, even as the Patriots are concerned, you won. But I'm not all that enthralled. I'm not all that thrilled at all if I'm a Patriots fan of, coming away with that game, like, with how that team looked. Because I would at least, I mean, granted they'll have a couple weeks off, but like that was a really bad performance on even their part for them to come away with it. And specifically from the arrogant Patriots fans that were in our stream that were talking about, they'll put up 38 points or the offense is going to explode. This is going to be a blowout. It was not a blowout.
Yeah.
And in fact, it ended up being a Thursday night football game that the Broncos and Raiders had in the AFC Championship game, just a different result.
I think it was probably worse, to be honest with you. But did you guys see, I mean, obviously you saw this. This is kind of a rhetorical question. All of that about the Patriots facing the top, like 3 of the top 5 defenses or something on the way to the Super Bowl, which like
Drake May has
hadn't happened before, and it's like this whole like huge thing of it was so challenging to get to the Super Bowl this year for Drake May. I'm like, dude, you played like the ghost of Jarrett Stidham and an if man performance who put up 3 points. And CJ Stroud. Herbert and CJ Stroud, who is imploding. So I don't even know. I don't know. You know what? Good for you. You get it there. I don't think it's going to happen this way again. We'll just say that. But that was a gross game in every way possible.
Yeah,
Jordan?
I agree with Brandon. Also, did we look at the graphic that CBS made on how I think there were only 3 times the Patriots faced a coach that is returning to their team. The rest of the 14 games, the coach has been fired, or an OC or a DC. So it's crazy. It's insane. But
I think it was CBS that put this out. Did you see the one where it's like the quarterbacks that the Patriots and that the Seahawks faced on the way to the Super Bowl? The Seahawks too. I mean, they had a better schedule in terms of like respectable, but there's some gimmies in there as well.
It's a Mike versus
funny.
Mike. It's a Mike versus Mike Super Bowl.
I will say, even if the Broncos made it, man, that Seahawks defense is legit, man. That would have been that probably would have sucked. Let's be real. Let's be honest. There's no way we win that game with Bo Nix. It's a different story, but that would have been a challenge even then. I think
there's not a big drop off though, Brandon.
Yeah, you're right. There's no difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was kind of the one thing I wanted to mention real quickly is it was pretty apparent too that the situation was a little. I'm not trying to point fingers or play the blame game here, but I think there is something to be said for being able to get reps in these situations because obviously pretty much like literally the entirety of the Broncos roster has not been in an AFC Championship game before. They've been in the playoffs. They won the playoffs. Great. It just continues to be a different beast, even at home. And I think you saw that a little bit. There were some drops, which sucked. RJ Harvey, I love you, but it was pretty obvious that you played college football in Florida and not in the snow. All around it was, we'll take the reps.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a game that you kind of soak in, of course, and like it was just in all the above bag, right? And that's probably like what you would call that was a weather game that you can't really predict, which you're gonna end up getting, right? Like you're gonna end up getting. Let's talk about those two big elephant in the rooms, which is. Just blatantly, I was surprised that they actually called it a forward pass when it came to Jarrett Stidham. I was surprised. But yeah, that was a bit surprising. And then obviously the 4th down call, or the decision to go for it, in that specific moment. You guys obviously watched the game a little bit more than I did. I was timeline searching. I was in the air. On my way to Mobile on a day like that. Frankly, probably a good one to miss. But I'll just start with you, Jordan. I mean,
we're talking about the forward pass, right?
All of it. The forward pass, the 4th down.
I'll start with the forward pass, or the Nat forward pass. I just don't understand how that play is made. I thought Stidham, and I understand the nerves are a thing and you're trying to make plays and all this, but that's just one you got to live to fight another day, especially the way your defense is playing. That can't happen.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. Like that's literally the only touchdown the Patriots had all game. So that was just super, super unfortunate. The 4th down call, I was very surprised by Sean going for it, just because he was known, like he's been known to just be taking the points. Like he did it last year and it worked out great. And I know people wanted him to be more aggressive. This year, he was a little bit more aggressive on 4th downs. And I think that was just more confidence in Bo and the offense, 2nd year with them and all that. But you have a backup. I know you're trying to instill more confidence by going for it on 4th and 1, but And again, I think maybe going for it was the right decision. It was just the play call, and I think he even said it after the game as well. Like, I don't regret going for it. I regret the play call. So, yeah, we can be having a different conversation if the right play call was made. But I think you just take your points there, especially having a backup quarterback going up 10 at home. You know that there was going to be some weather in the second half. Obviously, he didn't know it was going to be a blizzard, but you know that there was going to be weather impact in the second half. I just thought that was very uncharacteristic from Sean, who was known for taking the points, especially last year, and I thought it was the right move every time. And then he did that. I was just I was dumbfounded by it. I was. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah. I think that's where I landed as well in terms of like being more upset about the play call than going for it. In the moment when it happened and he went for it on fourth down, I was questioning it. I definitely thought taking the points when you're playing a backup quarterback is probably the best thing to do. But I definitely think the case can be made that if you score that like if you go for it, you get it, and you're able to score a touchdown on that drive, based on what you were seeing so far from the defense and the way that the Patriots were playing,
that game's over.
You can pretty easily come to the conclusion that you score a touchdown on that drive and you win the game like that. And that would have actually happened if we were able to make it. Now, the play call, I hated that. Every part of that was just, what are you doing? Why would you call that play in that moment? So the decision to go for it, I get it, but that's also where I went into about like the play call was just stupid.
Yeah. And then obviously the Jarrett Stidham play, Brandon.
Yeah. Oh, and then the forward, backward, whatever pass, shove, whatever that was. I don't even know. He didn't even throw it. He just kind of like pushed it.
Sean Marion.
You can't do that. You can't ever do that in a professional football game. You can't even do that in high school. That was completely on Jarrett, and he lost the game because of that. Like, you gifted them a touchdown. It honestly should have been a defensive recovered touchdown, because
that's why I was surprised.
They blew the play early for some reason. But that was like unforgivable. You can't do that. Take the sack and punt, dude. You're trying to be Bo. You're literally trying to do is get out of trouble, Bo escapism. And that's not your game. I mean, it was pretty painfully obvious, like, how I'm not saying Jarrett can't run and like that he's not an athlete. Right. He is. But you look at him compared to Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a special athlete.
Yeah.
Like, that's really something that I'm believing more and more the more I see him, and he makes it look easy. But you compare it to a guy like Jarrett, who's not slow. It's not like we're watching like Ben Roethlisberger out there trying to run. No. But Bo is just like so much more just quick and has a different gear to him. But yeah, that was just a ridiculous.
Cam, before mistake. You go, I wanna quickly mention, like, on that 4th and 1 call, he had just, I think it was earlier in the game, I think it was the first drive actually, he had called a read option and Stiddy kept it, and the Patriots did not know he was going to keep it. And it was the easiest first down conversion you can ever get in your life.
Yeah.
Like, on 4th and 1, I think that should have been in the mix a little bit. Like, Stiddy was once a dual threat guy. So
yeah. Well, even a sneak, like, or even something that's going to be in
our version of the tush push.
Right, like a version of a tush push. Given the weather too, like, and with the way that things would have unfolded, you mean to tell me that, like, you can't at least get a yard, So I don't know. But it is one where I think you guys are spot on, because it's like, we knew that the athleticism was a bit of a drop off. That was one of the biggest things we talked about, like the athleticism, the athlete that he is, was a drop off between Bo Nix and Alex and Jarrett Stidham. But I think that when you even look at it too, it's like, you really kind of puts into perspective, like, just the offense, and that maybe maybe the things could have been done differently in certain situations. Like, they could have, maybe actually they call certain things a little bit differently. Obviously, I just like this game specifically was a microcosm of every I would just say main worry that as Bronco fans, then we even talked about last week, that was like, man, this is like the biggest thing, right? Like the biggest thing that was like one of our worries, which was his mobility in a sense because he takes sacks more than Bo does. And he's also not as fleet of a foot as an athlete as Bo, right? And so I think that when you look at it, it was just it was one where it ended up being kind of a microcosm of one, where the Broncos are, and one of the biggest reasons why they are there was because of that quarterback, and he really kind of covered up some deficiencies, right? And look, I think we all agree the offensive line is still a very good offensive line, but they also struggled, right? Like they also struggled. They had their moments in the game, but it goes to show you, Bo really kind of covered some of that up because of his mobility and the way that he kind of escapes and gets at a lot of these pressures. And so, yeah, so to Alex, I mean, he's not a Broncos fan, by the way. Yeah, it's one where I wonder how much of a thing that is, if you will, right? Like, how much of a different game that really is. I think that when you look at the game and the play, like the throw right from Stidham, I have to think that from the overall vantage point between the Broncos and the Patriots of an AFC Championship game, that feels almost like payback for the AFC Championship 10 years ago. And granted, I didn't get a chance to talk about the game much, and maybe you guys have been talking about this in circles and everything, but I have to think that this is payback for a moment, and I hate to bring back a certain memory. And granted, it was a good one at the time because they didn't call it. Remember the Ronnie Hillman play in the AFC Championship game where the ball, I believe it was Manning, he threw the ball back, what we thought was probably backwards, and they didn't rule it backwards. And Ronnie like grabbed the ball or whatever, and had he not grabbed the ball, it would have been a score. I'm trying to remember it vividly, but like it was a play where the thing would have flipped immediately, right? Like the thing would have flipped immediately in the Patriots' favor, right? And I just feel like that's payback for that moment with the play of Ronnie Hillman to now, where and frankly, if I'm not mistaken, it was roughly the same part of the field too. Like it was roughly the same part of the field.
Yep.
I don't remember the specifics, but I know what you're talking about. Which, by the way, Ronnie Hillman, man.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. We miss you. But yeah, it just sometimes the plays go your way and sometimes they don't. I mean, like speaking of other times when the plays don't go your way, that screen pass that they tried to pull off to the down the right sideline, I think it was to Mims. If he catches that, and it's like, I mean, it was on Jerry, threw a little bit behind him, but if he catches that, there's literally not a single soul anywhere near the zip code of where he'd be running in a Patriots uniform. Like that probably is a house call. So you get some, you don't get some. I'm still calling this season a success.
Oh,
I mean, obviously, do I think we had a legitimate shot to win the Super Bowl if Bo Nix plays that game? Yeah. Again, Seattle would be tough, but we're back, boys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
Anyway.
So I kind of teed it up a little bit for you, Jordan, because I know you were kind of wanting to talk about the offensive line there, but yeah, and this is again not a knock on the offensive line as a whole for a year. Like they've got 2 nominees for a reason in Quinn Miners and Garrett Bowles for Protector of the Year. Shout out to them. But it was one where they've had like the whole offensive line just as a general season has had some moments this year.
Yeah, I know Brandon also wants to talk about it, so I promise I won't take all of it, but
Go for it.
I've been wanting and I've said it a couple of times, but I really haven't, like puffed my chest about it. But after watching what I saw, it's just it furthers the point that this offensive line is nothing without Bo Nix. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. Like, I completely understand Quinn Miners is an all-pro, as he is. We all love him. And Garrett Bowles had a phenomenal year, and that is understating it because he was excellent as a left tackle. And honestly, I think he's probably going to win the Protective of the Year award. I don't think he gave up a single sack this year, right?
Or certainly be on a very short list for it.
Correct. So Bowles has a very, very good chance of winning that award for the very first time it's ever been handed out. With all that being said, this offensive line is, and I would plainly say it is not good. It's not. Bo Nix hides a lot of their deficiencies and a lot of their negative stuff that they have on tape, because the Patriots knew the type of offensive line that we were, and they exposed it with a normal average quarterback back there. Bo Nix, there is a reason why sometimes Bo Nix's completion percentage is so low and not as expected, is because he gets the ball out so quick and he avoids sacks at such a unbelievable rate that he'd rather throw it into the ground than try to make a play. And a lot of those times is because he's getting pressured quickly. The way he avoids sacks, not just playing quick, but in terms of escaping the pocket and making a play, also hides what the offensive line has in deficiencies. So Bo Nix has made this offensive line a lot better than it is. That is a true fact of the matter. Going into the offseason, and I don't think they're going to do it just because all we hear from social media and from analysts are that this Broncos offensive line is the greatest thing since sliced bread, this, and that. Look at their numbers and all this. But I'm telling you right now, there needs to be some changes on the offensive line. I mean, these guys can't run block. They get no type of push. And you can't win games, especially in the playoffs like that. Like, I understand the Bills' offensive line isn't the best, but in playoff games, when they have to run the ball, they move people. They're very, very big. And our offensive line needs to start trending towards that. We need to get some people movers in the running game, because you just can't be successful as an offense without a running game. And as much as we love J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey as a rookie, there's only so much they can do. The offensive line needs to be a lot better in the run game, and that starts with the center. I've always had a problem with the center. The left guard with Ben Powers, I know when he went out, we struggled a bit. And when he came back, we were a bit better. I still think that he's replaceable. And then the right tackle, there may be some conversations to be had about Mike McGlinchey, because, again, we just need a better push all around when it comes to the run game.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Sorry, Cam.
No, go ahead.
There. So you hear all the time about, sacks or a quarterback stat. And I think that has played out to the extent, like the furthest extent that it possibly can when it comes to the Broncos team, because when you have Bo Nix for the majority of the season, your offensive line looks so good that you have two players up for Protector of the Year. And I'm not saying that Garrett Bowles and Quinn Miners are not amazing. They are. Garrett Bowles specifically has been absolutely ridiculously good this year. Like, he has been straight up one of the best, like, career resurgence arcs that I've witnessed. And it's props to him in every way possible. Like, good for you, Garrett. You have crushed it. I hope you win the award. You deserve it.
Yes.
But without Bo, I don't know that we have two players on that list. And, like, Quinn Miners is great, but he got completely manhandled a couple times during that pass game. And I was like, what is this? Like, this does not normally happen. And again, like, is a tough environment even at home, and like, you never know. And they have some players on the offensive or on the defensive line in New England. But yeah, I think I couldn't agree more with Jordan that you got to get some real more ass kickers. I think in the running game on the offensive line, and it's kind of a pipe dream for me, honestly, because there's absolutely no way that the Ravens should ever let this man leave their state. But if we spent all of our money in free agency and only signed Tyler Linderbaum and didn't sign anyone else, I would be happy. Like, obviously, there's other players we need. I want to draft some guys. I want to draft some weapons. And, like, we have cap space. We're going to sign more than one player. But, like, I think that would be such an amazing upgrade at center that would truly bring this offensive line, I think, to a point that it would be, I think, worthy of being in the conversation that people thought it was this year, which is like, this is such a great offensive line. And clearly that was not the case. Bo made them look better than they were. Sorry, but it's true. I mean, Garrett Bowles was amazing, but I mean, the center's always kind of been a liability. I still don't know how I feel about Mike McGlinchey. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I think Mike McGlinchey has certainly been better than the beginning part of his career. There's no doubt about it for me. It's like,
oh, for sure. That's true.
But it's just like, I think it's just the part of it is more, it's more so some of these little parts that just need to be tinkered with a little bit. And that's where I think Bo has really kind of brought out some of those deficiencies, which has been, specifically maybe like the Wattenbergs and maybe Powers at times, and then, for certainly something along the lines of maybe Mike McGlinchey at some moments. But I think that, because like specifically too, right? Like, Darian mentions about Mike in the run game. It's like, because if there's one area when you think of like maybe in his progress with the Broncos, right? Like, he has gotten significantly better as a run blocker with the Broncos, than he was with the San Francisco 49ers. He's even gotten better as a pass protector, since his time being with the San Francisco 49ers. There's just certain little aspects. And I think, like, hypothetically, say Linderbaum does come to be a Denver Bronco, not likely, but say he does, Wattenberg at least gives you, he has the contract, but he at least gives you position flexibility to where I believe his guard profile was like, he can be left guard. It didn't start great when he was the Denver Bronco, right? We all know that. But at least he can be a guard if they so please, which contractually he would probably be your left guard at that point. But I just added what happened. I still find it interesting that your best aspect of the running game, and I hate to yell this from the rooftops because I'm stealing Jordan's thunder and even, possibly YouTube right now. But it's like when Alex Forsythe had even been in the game when he was healthy, you saw a much more stronger semblance of a running game, right? And yeah, I think that the passing game at times for pass blocking was kind of up and down, but the running game, which should have been their identity in these playoffs, it goes to show you what's lacking. And then on the other side of this too, and it's kind of like leading into the idea of like where things need to go for the Broncos as far as when we look into the season. You got to really look long and hard. And it kind of starts with this running back group because it's going to be a long list as far as like everything that this Denver Broncos team needs to do when it comes to the season. And granted, like we said, it's been a great season. It's been a magical season. But there are certain players where you need to look hard in the mirror and where it's a great roster. I actually think it's a great roster. There's just certain players and positions where you need to look at it like, I don't want to trigger Jordan here, the wide receiver position. It's a it's a decent room in my opinion, but you still need someone, right? Like you still need someone that is going to be that top dog, a true number one in that wide receiver room. And the running back room, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it is truly a remade running back room where RJ Harvey is the only running back that is staying, where you have Harvey, maybe Dobbins, and then you end up having maybe even a Breece Hall kind of thrown into the mix, possibly as a pipe dream. But just the playmakers as a whole, starting from that running back position, is the other area of this when it comes to not just the weather aspect, but just that game in general, where you really are lacking those dominant players at the skill positions.
Yeah, the fact that sorry, chat, Cam triggered me, but the fact that your wide receiver one has 3 receptions in an AFC Championship game is beyond me. It's words can't describe the frustration I have with that wide receiver room, and I like the guys in that room. It's just that room needs a total rehaul, and like there's something to be said about every player in that room. Quite frankly, staying with the offensive line though, I don't know if they're gonna do it. I would like to hear your guys' opinion on it. But do you think they're really gonna change some of the guys in that room? Are they really gonna make moves, or are they just gonna run it back next year? That's how they've done the past 2-3 years.
I think they're probably going to run it back. I mean, again, the Tyler Linderbaum goal is a pipe dream for me. Realistically, they're probably going to run it back. I mean, the one thing I could see happening potentially is switching to Forsyth at center, like him winning the starting spot, which I think I wouldn't be mad about.
But even then, it would just go to show you that moving on and signing Wattenberg to a contract extension was a mistake.
Right. Yeah, probably. I mean,
but like if you didn't
have too much depth really on the offensive line, but probably that would not end well. Go ahead, Cameron.
Powers is the only one that I would just say that is a legitimate one. Specifically, and Kodiak mentioned this at the top, but like Palczewski was one who was frankly decent, maybe even on that par, if not better, than Powers, right? When he kind of went down. And if there was ever a year where you kind of had maybe an inkling where maybe they start moving on from Powers, I think Palczewski at least has earned a right for a pretty lengthy look for the Broncos. That's if they don't want to go back and dip into the well at guard. For a player that is frankly really good at guard that's in free agency. And I'll have to take a look at the list there at free agency, but Palczewski, at least for even the money that he is given as a draft pick and everything, like, but I just think that when you look at it from the standpoint of an offensive line adjustment, the Ben Powers move from both money, to just the Palczewski even being better, it just seems like one of, if not the top move that they do, whether it be offensive line or just not.
I mean, according to Spotrac, and in their system, they project them to get no. You can't do that.
Yeah, you were kind of cutting. You were kind of cutting
we
out.
We lost you a little bit when you were quoting Spotrac.
My bad. Spotrac has Ben Powers as a extension candidate, and in their system, they have him 3 years, $42 million.
Too much.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I never put too much stock in the projections because they're usually wrong, but that's a take.
That's pretty high.
I mean, look, Ben Powers was great when we first signed him, I think. He's regressed a little bit. He is almost 30, which
and also gotten injured.
Doesn't necessarily affect him a ton, I guess, on the offensive line. You see players past the 30s play really well still, but yeah, he also just has not been available. And then when he does come back, I think it's hurting his game. Like he's just not. He doesn't look healthy even when he's out there.
And to be fair, the Broncos are a relatively healthy roster, but one of the very few people that not really been available is Powers.
Yeah. So I do think there's some moves to be made there for sure. Are they going to do it? I don't know. I think I would probably put more money on them running it back than I would on there being a major changeup, but you never know.
There is a wild card that I think probably needs to be said, and frankly, it kind of leads us into this whole idea of. It kind of leads us to the idea of maybe where things could possibly go, and it's going to be. There's an array of topics that lead with this, but obviously everybody knows that the Denver Broncos may or may not lose Davis Webb in this cycle with a promotion from him to other jobs. I believe it's now the Ravens and Bills, that could be searching for an offensive coordinator. And then, of course, the Denver Broncos. Because the Denver Broncos, surprisingly, on a Tuesday afternoon, went, or Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday was no, it might have been Tuesday. Anyway, they fired Joe Lombardi. Which was very surprising. Just because whether or not you're a Sean Payton fan or not, y'all know that Joe Lombardi and Sean Payton have been relatively close, and you just really never knew whether or not they were actually going to pull the trigger. And we were always talking about the possibility of like, hey, what I would do is I would fire Joe Lombardi and promote Davis Webb, and possibly have that be a window of opportunity. And sure enough, that window of opportunity is there now. But like I said, there's an array of topics that lead with this because now the offensive coordinator position is open. And a rumor is out there between Sean Payton and giving up play calling to Joe Brady before he was promoted to head coach of the Buffalo Bills. If that is even remotely true, there's a window here where Davis Webb could be calling plays with the Denver Broncos, and then because of that, it could lend us to the idea that Davis Webb also wants to pick out his own wide receiver coach as well, or within the same conversation of Sean, and thus ends up into this conversation of, okay, maybe we're talking about a little bit of a newer wide receiver group going forward. So like I said, it's an array of topics going forward, just all tying it to this Davis Webb possible offensive coordinator hire.
I also can't imagine that whoever the new offensive coordinator is would be satisfied with the running game. But to the point of what happened with Joe Lombardi and potentially with Davis Webb. Well, first of all, Cameron, did you see the latest Davis Webb stuff? Like just from a couple hours ago?
He just withdrew from the Raiders job. I know.
Yeah,
so
he backed out of the Raiders job, which
it's thus making it seem like
a Raiders thing to do.
Well, yeah, so it's thus making it seem like it's the Ravens' job, Bills' job. I have to think it's basically just the Ravens and Broncos at that point because Joe Brady's going to be calling plays. There ain't no way Davis Webb would want to be going to the Bills now if Joe Brady's the head coach. So I think if you're clearly looking at this, it's the Ravens versus the Broncos.
Yeah. Which, like, I'm pretty positive it's going to be the Broncos. But just hopping back real quick to the Joe Lombardi stuff. Like, I kind of take this as, like, to me, this is growth from Peyton because Peyton seems to be kind of one of those guys that's like, he sticks by the guys that have been with him. He sticks with what he knows, right? He brought over Darren Rizzi. He obviously hired Joe Lombardi, who was obviously with him with the Saints. He also, if you guys noticed, was interviewing Ronald Curry, who was with him as well with the Saints for years as an offensive assistant, who's currently the Bills quarterback coach. He interviewed him for the OC job, which is interesting. So the fact that he was like willing to fire Joe Lombardi was interesting to me. Like, clearly he's like, we got to change something. I'm not happy with still where this offense is after, winning 15 games and making it almost the Super Bowl. So I think that's, I'm actually excited for this, and not just because I want a new offensive coordinator. I think it's like really a chance of, this, as much as I might think they're probably going to run it back with the offensive line, I could make the case here and see that this could mean there's going to be some more changes to this offense, and Sean is not still not happy with where it's at. And I'm excited to see what those could look like because, yeah, I think the firing of Joe Lombardi was not minor, and especially paired with that mention of him giving up play calling and seeming like he just kind of wants to innovate a little bit and like just change it up a little bit. It's interesting. So that'll be fun to watch.
And also too, if anything, Kodiak, the views are skyrocketing when you do vertical style as well. I know a lot of people really hate the vertical style, but we can attest. I showed Jordan and Brandon the other day. I believe it was like a month ago. We hit like 15 hours after the stream ended. We hit like 1.3 or 1.4 or whatever it was in terms of like, 1,400 views like 15 hours after our stream ended. So clearly it's a weird one, but yeah, vertical style has been rocking for views. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, the Davis Webb dynamic is interesting. I think last year I was already thinking about how can we already promote him to OC, and the easiest way was to fire Joe Lombardi. So I'm glad that came into fruition. When it comes to play calling, I do hope Peyton gives it up and gives it to Webb. Only because I do feel Webb is going to have a bright future in this league as a head coach. I do think the dynamic between Webb and Bo is probably a bit stronger than Bo with Peyton, and I'm not speculating on if like there's real beef there. That's another topic for another day, as people on social media love to
or Slack chat the last couple of days. Yeah.
But I do think having a new voice in there and having Sean be strictly the game planner, the play designer, and all that, then having Webb be the just play caller and sequencing all of the genius things that Peyton wants, I think that will be better than what a lot of people think it will be. I think at the end of the day, like if he does give up the play calling duties, I think it'll be the case like Sean's going to tell Webb, hey, give me your best run play on this certain situation. We should run this like how we did in practice. Like it won't be 100% Webb. Obviously, Sean's gonna have his advice and have his input in it all, which is fine. But I think having a new guy in Bo's ear will do its justice. And again, we can say all this stuff and it can be the best thing in the world, but you need a running game.
Well, and I think that it's going to be very interesting because there's a couple areas of this that is very, very important for the continuity factor of this Broncos team. And that is, we all know about the relationship between Davis Webb and Bo Nix. Massive, right? Jaden Daniels, improved, if you will, under Cliff Kingsbury. They decided to move on from Cliff Kingsbury, and now they were searching for a new offensive coordinator. And granted, I think David Blau is an up and comer, up and comer, if you will, in the coaching ranks. Because granted, I know it was Hard Knocks, but if you guys get a chance to see the Arizona Cardinals version of Hard Knocks, they really rave about David Blau. So I think he's an up and comer. But I think that for specific to like the Broncos, it is one where there's one thing it's ringing in my ear when it comes to at least the window that Sean Payton might actually give the play calling duties specifically to Davis Webb. He's not going to be giving up play calls to someone he doesn't trust. That's one.
Correct.
And two, he did it once before. He already has shown the propensity to give up a play calling for a game or a certain drive to Davis Webb in that preseason game. So this isn't really like some sort of instance where, I know it's a preseason game, and maybe we're glossing over something that is maybe meaningless, but I think that like it happened, right? Sean even talked about that he actually gave the play calling duties to Davis Webb in that preseason game against the Arizona Cardinals. And what happened? of all things, we ended up having a drive that ended up utilizing Evan Ingram, right? Who ends up possibly end up being a free agency conundrum. So I think that for this, it's just going to be one where if Sean does give up play calling, it's going to be one where I think is going to be so important for him, because I think that if he does give up the play calling duties, as a victory lap mentions, he can easily take it back. But two, it's like when you look at it, it's like he has the ultimate CEO type style when it comes to being a head coach, right? So if you give someone the duties to actually call plays, that almost will prolong your career of being a head coach in the National Football League, or frankly, even with the Denver Broncos, because now you can just put your full on trust and not be a micromanager when it comes to, dipping your toes in some of this and just, putting some full on trust in the guy that you clearly chosen to run some offensive plays. And if he does a really good job, that looks really good on you specifically. And then it gives you the opportunity where you can hire another one if Davis Webb does in fact earn that head coaching job.
Did you guys see the who the Eagles hired as their offensive coordinator?
I did. Packers
Sean
QB
Mannion.
coach.
Yeah, I feel like we're just going to see this explosion of like former backup pro quarterbacks turned OCs, and I'm curious to see how it goes. But man, we got to find a way to keep Davis Webb.
I would like to ask you guys, like, so we all know, like, Sean, as much as we've seen like Bo get frustrated with Sean during the game because the plays don't get called in, and more on that in a bit and stuff like that, but like Sean clearly loves Bo. Like he probably loves him too much. And it's kind of like how that parent, there's always that one parent that loves his kid too much and is always overprotective about him, and that kid is like, hey, I'm good, like stop getting on me. That's kind of like Sean with Bo. And I kind of feel that it's going to be like Sean with Webb too, because Sean loves Davis Webb. There's a reason he hired him, and there's a reason why he fired Joe Lombardi and all this. So now that he has these two guys that he loves near and dear to his heart, right? And he really wants both of them to succeed, but sometimes can get in their way to flourish a bit, which, listen, it happens. And sometimes I'm a prisoner of the moment as a high school basketball coach where I really want a kid to succeed, but sometimes I'm in his way as well. So I understand that part to its fullest. With that being said, like, do you guys remember when, we've had Tony Romo 6 times this season. Every single time we've had him, he always said, whenever Bo gets the play in with around 20 seconds left in the play clock, and he can diagnose the defense, dissect it, and get into the right play and make the right checks, he is amazing. But we rarely saw that because for one reason or the other that we don't know, Sean always got the play in late. Whether it's a wordy, like a very wordy play call, or he's just trying to see what's the best play to, like, whatever it is, it was never on time. And Tony Romo always made that a point of emphasis every single time he had a Broncos game. And you can clearly tell, like, whenever he got the playing call, like, early, it was easy pickings for Bo. But whenever it was late, it was kind of iffy. I wonder if that has crept into Sean's mind, and even if, like, Webb has been a part of that. I really do.
What's up, Joey?
That's a great point. What up, Joey? Yeah, I do think you've seen Sean kind of second guess himself a little bit this season a couple times, and like, I do wonder if he's thinking like, man, I want the best for this team. I want to win a Super Bowl here. I'll do whatever it takes, even if that means I have to give up play calling to someone else. And it could be that he's in his head a little bit of like, well, should we do like run this play? Should we run this play? But then also you make a good point as well about, famously having some of the most complicated verbiage for his play calls. And I can't imagine that, like, being in that huddle and getting that call late, and then also having to kind of decipher that with the late subs like Kodiak is talking about, and then also just the complexity of the play, like, that's so difficult and so much to put on a second-year quarterback's shoulders. And like, Bo still did a good job with it. But,
yeah.
I do think that is a really interesting point.
Yeah. Well, and and then like we said, it's going to be an array of topics because say they end up being the offensive coordinator, Davis Webb ends up being the offensive coordinator. Well, and then obviously we hear the elephant in the room, which ends up being the play calling duties, and Davis Webb ends up given the idea of being a play caller. Well, I would have to guess that there's at least a window of opportunity here where he probably wants a wide receiver coach that he could be able to work with, right? Like someone that he could be able to trust too. So the moment that happens where they ended up bringing in a different wide receiver coach and someone maybe that Webb has had experience with or has at least gotten something through the grapevine, the moment that happens is probably the moment we start getting a little bit more inkling of, hey, Cord will be here or Franklin will be here, but there's some other pieces. Bryant will be here, but there's some other pieces and some maybe large pieces that maybe we can put together. So maybe Sean being this, culture setter will still be there, but there's certain players that maybe they need a little bit more of an Emmanuel Sanders, not a George Pickens, but an Emmanuel Sanders type, personality in the room. And so I think it's going to be very interesting. And obviously quarterback coach, I will say this. I know he was the first offensive coordinator that they interviewed, meaning the Broncos and Ronald Curry. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I would not be the least bit surprised if Ronald Curry is your actual quarterback coach. I would not be the least bit surprised.
You think he's leaving Buffalo to take the same job?
Does Davis Webb have ties to Ronald Curry?
Sean Payton does.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's
at that point, does it come down to, do you want to learn under Sean Payton or do you want to learn under Joe Brady? Because I'm pretty sure Ronald Curry one day wants to be a head coach, right?
Maybe.
Because if that's the point, I would rather learn under Sean Payton than a first-year head coach in Joe Brady, right?
Yeah. So I don't know, because I saw Darian mentioned about the QB coach, and it's just Ronald Curry. Remember when we had Ross Jackson on, Brandon?
Yeah.
When we had Ross Jackson on, I believe it was the Saints guy, the moment that Sean Payton was hired, and he said there were two guys to actually watch out for the offensive coordinator position, and it was Ronald Curry and Pete Carmichael. Well, Pete Carmichael is also currently on the staff, so maybe they end up promoting Carmichael to QB coach and pass game coordinator or something, or whatever. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a very interesting set of dynamics. But I'm very curious to see how it all kind of shakes out with the staff. Because again, the moment they get that figured out, you'll start to see some moving parts and a lot of moving parts. When it comes to possible fits, player fits, etc.
Phillip Rivers is going to be the QB coach.
He and his 1,800 kids.
That would be actually so freaking cool. It's not going to happen, but that'd be cool.
I mean, hey, Josh McCown was a QB coach, right? And he was getting head coaching interviews by the Houston Texans before they hired DeMeco Ryans. Okay, so I'm seeing a whole bunch of conversation about some of the tight end stuff in the chat. Let's kind of just talk a little bit more about some of these needs going forward with this team. The Evan Ingram one is such an interesting dynamic because it's one where he didn't do enough to possibly warrant being back, but he also probably was one where he flashed at some times too. So it was one where it was like, do we give it one more year, or is it one where does Davis Webb, if he ends up being the offensive coordinator, want to roll with it and actually be like, yeah, we'll roll with him for one more year, and if he ends up performing him, we'll sign him to another 2-year deal, if you will, that following year.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like we definitely need to get a tight end. I think you've seen specifically with like in recent memory, you have obviously Brock Bowers in LA or LA, Las Vegas. You have the Colston Loveland obviously has been amazing for the Bears, although they kind of started out a little bit slower. You have the kind of emergence and then kind of disappearance, I guess, a little bit of the Lions tight end that they drafted, Sam Laporta. He was like incredible as a rookie. So I feel like you are starting to see a lot more of these like younger tight ends come in and produce as rookies when you kind of didn't see that for, the majority of recent history in the NFL. And like the kind of, I would say, saying has always been, it takes time for rookie tight ends to develop. And I think that that's starting to be at least a little bit disproven. And like even Harold Fannin in Cleveland this year was super good. So I'm curious to
bet on
see what they do. But I think obviously, Kenyon Sadiq, incredible player. You're going to have to take him in the first round. I don't even think he gets to 30, but I think there are some other guys in this draft class that are going to be at least somewhat intriguing as a weapon at tight end specifically. And Evan Ingram hasn't really worked out the way you would expect, but if you want another guy that's kind of more of that just extremely athletic receiving tight end who's not going to give you much as a blocker, but is younger than Evan Ingram, like Max Clare from Ohio State, I think is someone that you could probably look at, that you could select, probably top of you might have to trade up in the second round to get him, but maybe in the second round. And there's some other guys too. I think this is not a terrible tight end class. I mean, I don't think it's quite as good as last year. Last year was crazy. I definitely think we still should have taken any number of people, honestly, last year at tight end, but there's some ones this year. And then I do think I'm still like, I'm not sold on RJ Harvey. I don't know what it is. Like he looks so good as a receiving back, amazing as a weapon out of the backfield in the passing game. There's something there. I don't know if it's like the run blocking. Obviously he's a rookie. He could be, still taking that next jump next year, but I haven't seen enough from him for me to think that he is anything other than like a passing game weapon and like not really going to be utilized as a large part of the rushing attack. J.K. Dobbins, I'd love to bring him back, but I think you need to add someone else there because J.K. Dobbins, unfortunately, I just can't. I mean, I know, you can't always say, well, he was injured before, he was going to be injured again. Like, yes, that's never the right kind of way to look at it. But you also can't ignore the fact that he might not be available for the entirety of the season. And when you lost him this year, it was so detrimental to this offense and in the way that it just like completely eliminated the rushing attack. So I do think you need to add a weapon in the running back room. Those are kind of the top two to me. Obviously, wide receivers are going to be something we'll talk about, but I'm going to give Jordan that one.
I was just, he could probably dedicate an entire podcast to that.
I very can.
Brandon, I'm disappointed in you, man. You had the opportunity to talk about my tight end, and you didn't bring him up. You did not.
So I'm going to let you talk about him.
You did not bring up Nate Borkature. Nate Borkature is definitely a tight end that I would be 100% interested in when it comes to the NFL draft. Cuevas is another one.
I was letting you talk about him.
But Borkature is 100% a Sean Payton type of tight end. I'm actually, if you guys have not been following Nate Borkature, at least so far in the Senior Bowl, go watch some stuff because he had a really, really good Senior Bowl. Like he had a couple moments. They did I think they did some mat drills where it was like a one-on-one drill, and he basically the ball was like just over the left shoulder of the defender, and he physically caught it at the catch point. And it was a play that I have never seen, frankly, a tight end make in its existence. Like, in the I mean, I frankly can't even tell you, but like it was an impressive catch. And then also too, like he's an impressive blocker. Like he is one where it's one like he's probably more so of a willing blocker, and he's been very underutilized in his collegiate career. But absolutely, sign me up for Nate Borkacher. Sign me up. And then what is it? There's the Houston tight end that's escaping me. He's kind of shown a little bit. Jolly, I think, is another one who's kind of shown out a little bit. But no, this tight end class I think is very sneaky good. Like you get Kenyon Sadiq, and then there's like a whole bunch of guys, right? Like there's a bunch of guys that are kind of lumped into that like 3rd to 5th round that are really good players that I would pretty much invest in. So yeah, Koziol from Houston. So I don't know. I am all for double dipping in the tight end realm.
And I am all in for dipping in the wide receiver room multiple times. But it is going to hit me like a truck when Sean Payne drafts Elijah Surratt, and he's going to be the Broncos wide receiver, who is another slow wide receiver. It's a big body, and I'm
Don't be disrespecting my Elijah Surratt.
I'm going to lose it, and I can't wait.
I mean, we could always add to the growing legend of Division III football players who shine at the Senior Bowl and then come to Denver and are all pros, and we could take Tyron Montgomery.
Bro.
Did you see him at the Senior Bowl, Kim?
Bro.
He wasn't as good today, I think. But he's going on that. I mean, he's kind of taken that kind of same path, honestly, that you saw from, I mean, even as recently as last year, like a guy like Gray Zabel who showed out at the Senior Bowl, obviously different position, and then like shot up the draft boards. And obviously McGlinchey, or not McGlinchey. Oh my gosh, I just talked about it. Quinn Miners. Oh my gosh. My total brain fart there. Quinn Miners the previous year, previous couple years, being like that sort of out of nowhere guy that shows up, explodes onto the scene, makes a really good impression, and then goes a lot higher than you expect. And Tyron Montgomery could kind of be in that.
The amount of times at the Senior Bowl
conversation
where I had to look up the fact that Tyron Montgomery went to a university called John Carroll was more than one hand. By the way, I found out, if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of a fact. I found out that he started playing football, if I'm not mistaken, in JUCO ball.
When I first heard about Tyron Montgomery, I thought that John Carroll was a scout who was writing a report about him at the Senior Bowl. Like it was talking about like Tyron Montgomery has been like incredible. John Carroll, right? And I'm like, did John Carroll write this? Like, who's John Carroll? I don't know who that is. So safe to say that no one knew who this man was, and then he is making himself some money.
He had obviously it's the famous one that ended up being popular, but like he put Chris Thompson from San Diego State on skates. Like he put him on skates, and then he put one of the wide receivers. And look, Montgomery's not big. Like he's not like, like the 6'2", 6'3s, but like he's pretty physical at the catch point. And that catch that he made, like there were so many people that were ooping and like yelling, if you will, on a play like that. Yeah, he made himself known, I think, in a fair amount of circles. So
Tyron Montgomery.
And I mean, first things first, Jordan, he's a separator, which I know you like a lot.
I mean, PFF, they have him on his big board, like on their big board.
Is he like
you click on it and it goes page unfound. the school unknown team, and they have him at 6'1", 185, which is perfect for what I want.
I don't think that's true because he's definitely not 6 feet tall. But go off, John Carroll University.
Yeah,
it's definitely shorter than 6 foot. I think he's like 5'11".
Is this one of those like Diego Pavia things where they'll show that he's
that's not that bad?
Where he's like 5'9", but they'll lie about it, and he's actually like 2 or 3 inches shorter. But yeah, so he's definitely not 6'1". That's
he was a walk-on basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
As he attended LSU. All right, this guy officially has me.
All it took was a walk-on basketball player.
Don't even watch him play.
Yeah. A couple players, a couple other players that really kind of stood out too was like Malachi Fields. If we're gonna go wide receiver,
now you want the big, slower guy.
No,
I don't think it's Malachi Fields, but I don't know if I'd call him fast.
He can ball.
We do not want.
He's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but he's he's more of the kind of Cortland Sutton.
Yeah,
to me, but he's definitely making some plays.
I think it's Ja'Cory Lane was another one from USC. He's kind of a long strider. I actually see I saw Tim Patrick in him. The other one too that I think is obviously on everybody's board is Ted Hurst. From Georgia State. His popular archetype and everything is George Pickens, just based on archetype. And everybody and their mother, I guess, for some Bronco fans, kind of want George Pickens. So if you want a guy like that, like a George Pickens, kind of athletic guy, I would be for a guy like Hurst. Yeah,
I would love George Pickens if he had a better personality.
Yeah. Montgomery is 5'11" and 190 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. PFF
he's definitely not 6'1", 215, but
Well, to be fair, PFF is not lying. They've never heard of him because they don't have a page for him. So
that's because no one knows what John Carroll University is.
So anyway, as far as some other things though, as far as some Broncos news and stuff, Jim Leonard is not left yet. In fact, his opportunities have kind of dwindled a little bit, minus if you look at the opportunities, not counting some of the head coaching jobs that are still left. So it kind of begs the question, is Jim Leonard still gonna be here?
I believe he's in line for the Bills defensive coordinator job.
They said he's the leading candidate or the prime candidate, which I think I kind of that's the one I kind of expect to happen. But
I hate it. Promote him.
The good news is it's not the AFC West. So
all I know is I don't think the offensive line for the Chargers is going to get much better. Although if they stay healthy, obviously they still have some dudes. But Butch Berry is the Chargers offensive line coach.
Butch Berry.
Okay. If that name sounds familiar, it's because that's the guy who was the offensive line coach for us under Nate Hackett, who famously left sticky notes for his players instead of speaking to them.
Yeah.
I hate Butch Berry. I don't. I just don't think he's good.
We basically just say that he was a very miserable experience being a Broncos fan, watching him, and definitely sticky notes merchant when it comes to Butch Berry. And obviously Jordan knows about Butch Berry all too well, being down there in Miami. Anything else you guys want to talk about as far as Broncos news notes and everything?
Sorry, my brother sent me a NFL and ESPN tweeted who do you have in this matchup, and it was the 2015 Broncos versus the 2025 Patriots. I mean, that's just complete rage bait. That's complete rage bait. Why is that on my screen right now? Last
You
word
want
for
another
me.
matchup I care about more?
What
Could the 2015 Broncos defense have held the Persians at Thermopylae? Have you seen that?
Have not.
It's a whole video about it, dude. It's so funny. You gotta watch it.
Wow.
It's incredible. Anyway, go ahead.
No, the last words from me would be, I'll continue to reiterate that this season, all in all, when looking back at it, was a success. It was just heartbreaking the way it ended due to the injury to Bo and stuff like that. Going into the off season, I think there are obvious issues to fix, whether they do it or not, or that's just a total different topic.
Love you, Joey. Thank you for hopping in, buddy.
Love you, Joey.
Thanks, Joey.
That's another topic of discussion on whether they are going to fix some of the things. Again, they are free of the rust dead cap. There's like 5 players they can convert their salary into bonus to free up more cap space, so they will have a lot of money. Now, whether they're willing to make the necessary moves to take that next step is going to be the question. So between knowing if Davis Webb is going to be the play caller, there's a lot of things to look forward to with the Broncos, newsworthy wise and draft wise and free agency wise. Like, there's a lot to look forward to. And right now there's a lot of speculation, but there is a path in the off season. So,
well, and I think that's the thing. Is granted, there's been some moves here and there, but everything's been a trajectory upwards, right? And I think that for the Broncos and specific to their off seasons, every single off season, for what it's worth, has just gotten to be more important each and every off season, right? Like, so we had the first off season, which set the standard for the Peyton era, right? And then obviously that next one, which ended up being, some moves sprinkled in there, and then this last one, which ended up being Dre Greenlaw and others, and then of course Evan Ingram and Talanoa Hufanga, right? So it's going to be one where things are just kind of trending upwards in a direction, I think, for this team, and I think that given the fact that it was a frustrating game, but I have to think that Patriots game is going to end up being maybe their new Bills game that they put up in their locker room, that they kind of use as motivation for how can we get back there, right? Like, how can we get back there, or how can we make this team an ultimate, competitor from the top level talent perspective, and how can we get there? So it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be a really fun off season. One thing's for sure, there will never be a dull moment. There will never be a dull moment for that off season, or let alone on the Mainly Broncos podcast. Do you have any final thoughts, Brandon?
Unrelated, but I would love to know the 11 people that did not vote Bill Belichick in as a first ballot Hall of Fame coach.
no, brother.
Bro, I'm not a Belichick guy per se, but how does he not go in?
I don't know. I don't even like him, and I still think that he should be a first ballot Hall of Fame coach. Anyway, I find that funny. But no, other than that, great season. I'm excited for this offseason. I'm excited to see what they do. Let's go Broncos.
Which, by the way, Bill Polian's responses to it have been hysterical.
Oh, dude, there's some kind of beef there. There's some kind of beef there that we don't know.
How do you go from that I voted him in to, oh, you know what? I don't know if I voted him in or not.
Right? How do you not know if you voted for Bill Belichick?
I don't know.
I truly wonder. This is insane. But if this whole thing, like the drama smorgasbord of this whole thing with him and his very young girlfriend and the at UNC played in recently has played into it. That's just, that whole thing is weird to me. I'm like, first of all, she's young enough to be your daughter, but okay, whatever. And then also the way that you approach that coaching job, it's just, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's definitely one where it's like, man, that's kind of nuts. Anyway, yeah, we maybe we'll look a little bit more deeper, I guess, into the offseason. Maybe we'll actually talk a little bit more some draft. And for anybody that does not know, we do mock drafts here on the show, and obviously, so it'll be a fun off season because then we'll be doing some mock drafts. Obviously, all three of us will be taking our toes and dipping them into the draft season and everything. And obviously, I had my fill for at least a couple days or for the week over at the Senior Bowl. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to get a chance to preview some prospects. And maybe we do a little bit of like an introductory dive, maybe into some of the prospects, that are not Miami Hurricanes, so we can really make, Jordan really uncomfortable.
They're the best players in this draft.
No, they're not. Zion Young was, and Derek Moore made proof of that.
Good. Keep dropping his Mark Bell stock so we can get him.
By the way, I appreciated the honesty, but I don't know if I like Markel Bell bringing up his not so honorable moment when he talked about it. I'm not so sure I like him bringing that up in his interview. But anyway, but yeah, maybe we do a little bit of an introductory stuff as far as maybe some positions that might interest us, next week, and then maybe we'll even have a guest or two, as things kind of progress. But make sure, first things and foremost, hit the subscribe button for the MHRT Network page. There is a join option now, which is like a membership for $2.99, $6.99, and $12.99 over there on MHRT Network. Feel free to click whichever option you feel is best suited for you. There's the subscribe for the Mainly Broncos YouTube channel, and as we said there, that's more popular, I guess, for our short form and everything. And we go live. We go live on our X, Twitter platforms. Obviously, we went live tonight on at Brandon Miller PO's personal account, Jordan 2 Lopez's account, and of course mine at Cameron Parker PO, and of course, the MHRT Network Twitter handle. Make sure you follow the Mainly Broncos Twitter account because we'll be posting, obviously, show episodes and some stuff that might actually end up being some of our short reels and content too from there. So it's been an absolute blast. Thank you to everybody that hopped in the chat. Paul, you are the MVP. Victory Lap. Joey, man, I love you, man. Thanks for hopping in. Kodiak, it was a blast having you. Darian, for hopping in. It was awesome. And obviously to get a chance to see some of the others too. Frankly, we didn't get a chance to see. That was awesome. Thank you guys so much for hopping in. And until next time, God bless Bo Nix.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might